drop the links in to see if it's working. So just give me a minute. Oh yes, we are live. We are live. What is up, everybody? So if you guys want to share my to see if it's working. Now I'm hearing myself twice. So just give me a minute. Oh yes, we are live. Turn the volume down. Okay, cool. And so then let me just check YouTube real quick. Yes, we've got one person and so then, watching. Let me just check YouTube. Okay, great. So we are live. We are live. Say hello to the world. Thank you guys for being here. I want to do a couple things if you guys wouldn't mind. Let's just do like a post or like a Instagram or something and just let your followers and fans know that we're live real quick so that we can kind of get some more people to jump on. So just take a moment and do that. So I'm going to do like we are live on YouTube and Facebook. If you guys want to come join us, Ableton Certified Trainers. Okay. Sorry, those of you guys that are watching, we'll be right there. Boom. Okay. Great. Okay, so I just posted to my gram. All right, so let me go to what's up, world. Let me go to the sheet. Does anyone have anything that they want to like lead with today? Like what's like one really awesome thing that happened in your world this week? Does anyone want to jump in? Claire. Oh, I thought I saw a face. No. Okay. I feel like I'm like a teacher in class now. I'm just gonna like,
Yeah,
Pedro, yes.
yeah.
Yes. What's one awesome thing that happened this week for you?
um, I think this week was especially good for me.
Nice.
Like, I got so many new students, like,
Yes.
kind of like almost overwhelming. Like, I think I found a niche. People that know me from my career as a producer, as a musician, and a bunch of like other professional musicians that I play with, that I go on the road with. So they also want to invest in themselves. And I kind of put all my prices down, let's say, hey, we gotta help out each other. And I know you guys are not making any money, but at the same time, it's complicated for me, so let's find something that works for everyone. So if I'm making this package of like five lessons, 5 1 hour lessons, and it's working like really well. And each one that takes a lesson with me and shares on Instagram, then there's like 5 6 new messages of people get in touch. So, and it's also cool to give lessons to like professional musicians and people that have a lot of experience with music, so you can like exchange we can exchange in a high level, and so yeah, so these people can spend some money to invest in themselves, and that's cool. And for other people that are being paid and can are receiving still receiving money, I ask more. and I'm trying to be really open about it, and that's cool. And I also helping some people just for free, all the time, just giving some tips or sending a quick video tutorial on how to do something. And yeah, that has been pretty cool. And I also landed some producing jobs and mixing jobs. So it's been a pretty good week so far.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a lot to say about what things are like with selling your services right now or offering your services, and where everyone's at with that. I know everyone's kind of in a different place, and of course we all are still needing to make money during this time and offering various things online. And for me, like something that you said at the beginning, Pedro, really rang true. There are certain people that are really want to invest in themselves during this time. There are those people
Yeah,
that are like, okay, I can't, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to just stay where I am and wait till this is over. And then, maybe I'll come out. And then there's other people that are like, okay, this is my time. Like, I'm going to invest in myself right now. I'm going to learn a lot of new things. I'm going to like work with the right people. And so it's
exactly.
just like kind of there's different mindsets from across the spectrum going on. And I'm definitely not saying that a person should be in one space or the other, but it's just very interesting to see like there's like that range. It's like the range of mindsets where people are at right now. And also what you said about getting help, doing trades. Like I'm doing a lot of trades right now with people, like offering my services for their services and in exchange for tech help or whatever. Like a friend of mine, we exchanged a sound bath. Like I got a sound bath and I gave her tech help, and so that was it.
Cool.
It actually mitigated all of the tech stuff that I'm doing because I got to just decompress and be away from the computer, which I think is really important. Because we're all like online so much right now, and we're just like glued to the screens, and so
Constantly,
just
constantly.
getting away a little bit I think is really important. So any kind of people out there that are watching that have services that you can offer to help musicians and artists to decompress from being
Yeah,
on the computer, I think is very, very welcomed right now.
guys, we need help. All these faces here, they are sitting on the in front of the computer for like 18 hours, 16, 18 hours a day. Like my
Yeah.
back, I got so much pain in my back. So I'm doing my daily stretch. But if anyone wanna trade some yoga classes or whatever,
Yoga with Adrian.
bring me on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait,
Adrian.
so was that in the group that you posted that? Because I actually didn't know
No,
about
no.
Adrian. Oh, okay. Someone else in another group posted about yoga with Adrian the other day, and I was like, "Who's Adrian?" So I went to YouTube, and I was like, "Oh my God, Adrian is amazing."
Indeed.
Cool.
I was like, "Why am I paying all this money for like fancy yoga classes when yoga with Adrian on YouTube?" Shout out Adrian on YouTube. Like I think it's Adrin or En or something. Yeah, I've gotten into her this week.
We can put a link.
Yeah, 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 yeah. She's got
Claire has put
she's
it
got
already.
good
She's so
sound.
fast.
Yeah, she's got good sound. Yeah, that's important. It's very key because a lot of yoga teachers, I feel like, are just doing the iPhone thing, which is okay. I mean, if you just have that, totally fine. It's great for you to be able to express, yourself either as a musician or as an artist. I actually saw someone this week who posted something like, "Hey, can, people slow down on like the sound quality hate that's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." Because we're all audio professionals, and when we hear like just like the onboard like mic or something like that, it we're just so attuned. Our ears are so attuned to hearing higher quality sound, but kind of goes back to like a lot of the work that I do with limiting beliefs and technology and all of that. And I think it's just important for people to just get their art out there no matter what. If it's no matter how you record it, just put it out there because it just matters the energy and the emotion that you're putting into it and that you're sharing with an audience.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's
I agree with that, but I'd also like to bring up a point.
Yeah.
Something that, like in Spain right now, I don't know if you guys are aware, but they're doing like a, a cultural stop, like for 2 days. Today is the second day. So no one's doing lives on Instagram in Spain. No one's doing any cultural expression right now as a protest because the Minister of Culture was not very keen to give any aid to the culture class. So that's kind of a response of them. And here in Brazil, I think we're feeling some of that as well. Like we're not really expecting any support because it's probably not gonna come. And there's this other thing that's we're being so overwhelmed, but for with lives on Instagram, especially like every platform, but especially in Instagram, and the tool is not ready for that many lives. You know, you can't really find what you want. You can really like filter your content, and so like professional musicians and amateurs and just anyone, you just putting their face out there, and that's a good thing. But when you're trying to like find some content that speaks to you, it's a mess. And for professionals, it's like, wow, what can I do right now? Because everyone has a face up there, and yeah, I don't know. So I'd like to just bring this point, and I'd really like to hear your guys' opinion.
So you're saying that because of the lack of aid for creatives, it's kind of like a strike almost. Is that what
Yeah,
happened?
that's it. Yeah,
Uh,
something to bring value to what we do. You know, say, hey, you're not giving us any value. But just try to see how you can live without us. Try
yeah,
2 days without us. Let's see if you're gonna miss.
right. And when did this start?
Yesterday, today is the second day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of us have been talking here in Brazil, and we're thinking of doing the same thing. You know, just some silence for a while. For maybe we can find other reasons for that as well, personal reasons, and
Mm.
I don't know. At the same time, I love to see everyone sharing, and even if they don't have good audio, if they're just starting out in instruments and they're having this experience and sharing with the world, that's beautiful. But at the same time, um, for a professional that work with arts and culture, it's a mess.
Yeah. Wow, I'm really looking forward to hearing what it's like on the other side of the 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Who is living there right now of CPs? Because this is
Of
not
what?
this is not in Brazil, right?
Oh no, this is in Spain.
This is in Spain. So
Yeah.
I wonder which CTs are from Spain.
I heard from Barcelona, San Sebastian.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. There's a few people from Barcelona. Interesting. Yeah, we should ask them. We should ask them about that.
Yeah, I will get some news pretty soon, and I'll holler back to you.
Cool. Yeah. Wow. At first I thought you were gonna say um that that people decided not to post because there'd been so much of it and that everyone needed a break from the constant, you know. But the fact that it's the other way around, it actually makes me a lot happier, you know, because it is important. You know, it is important what we're all doing. And now when I go to Instagram, I don't see any regular stories anymore. I just see all lives. It's like live.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of live hats. Yeah, and
Everyone's
now there are fake lives. You know, fake lives. They're like just redirecting you to either YouTube or somewhere else.
mm-hmm.
Like it's actually kind of smart, but it's like fake. You see, oh, Laura is live on Instagram. Oh no, she's not. It's just a note saying you should go to YouTube and watch there.
Oh, really? Is that what people are
Yes,
doing now?
some people are doing that. So
Oh,
they're like
interesting.
streaming. I just like the post, but
Right.
it's live or maybe a video, but it's going on loop and say, go
Uh,
ahead, go to Facebook or to YouTube or
yeah.
whatever.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I actually have a couple, well, more technical things that we can get into, but did anyone else want to share like something awesome that happened with them this week, just in terms of maybe a new student that you're working with or a new
Yeah,
project?
I could say something.
Great.
I'm Jason. I'm Santa Fe, New Mexico in the US. This is my first time here. I just got certified at the end of January. And I did a first this week. I had somebody contact me as a student, and then they asked me if I would mix something for them. And I told them that because of the situation, my place is in my house. My girlfriend and I are taking the quarantine thing seriously. And what we ended up doing was using Listen to connect our two computers. And I actually mixed something for him while I was here and he was there, which is something that I've done before in studios with phone patches and things like that. But it was the first time I ever actually did it, you know, with that sort of technology connecting one computer to another. And I was surprised at how well it actually worked. It was, there was the obvious problem of his room sounded differently than my room, but he kind of just accepted my judgments on things because he was thinking of me as the engineer. But that was great because it was a first and it was another one of those things having to do with this time where I was not planning that I would be doing that and that it would work so well.
Could you maybe explain how did it work? How did you
Yeah, I was curious. Go into more detail.
Um,
on the master channel? How did you do this? We are all nerds here, so tell us.
so are you all familiar with Listen To by Audio Movers?
Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't know this until I contacted Audio Movers, but you can do I asked them, so do they have like a teacher package? Because it's one thing for like me to log in and stream music to somebody, but obviously if you're teaching someone, you want to go back and forth. And here's you play me some stuff, I'll play you some stuff. And what they told me that I just got it, so I was unaware of, is that any account can have 3 active logins at a time. So I gave him or actually I connected through Zoom to his computer and I typed in my login. And so he had it on a bus sending to me, and then I had a plugin on a bus sending to him. And so we both had the sending plugin and the receiving plugin going in the same session. So like I put the sending plugin on his master and the receiving plugin on an aux track. And so he could mute the aux track when he wanted to. I could mute my aux track when I wanted to. And it was just the one login. He didn't have to have his own login, but it was going back and forth and could go both ways. Uh, and since we were mixing, it wasn't like a live performance or something like that, and we were listening independently, we didn't have any real latency issues or anything like that because we were only listening to one thing at a time.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think a big topic of discussion the past couple of weeks has been performing in real time, and it's just interesting to hear, how people are collaborating right now.
What's cool with it also
do you have a project up that you would mind showing us, like maybe showing the like screen sharing or something? I'm just putting you on the spot, but if there's something you want to share.
Well, to be honest, he was working in Logic, so I don't.
Never mind.
But yeah, it was like no, he contacted me for Ableton lessons because Ableton live lessons because he was like, I've had it with Logic. I want to like move over and start working in live, and he's starting to work on a new album. But he had this one Logic track that had never been released, and he was like, I want to release this as like the teaser or something. And so that was the one he wanted to work on. So yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, Roy actually.
That's the question. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, Roy actually finagled a discount for the CTs.
Yeah, that's what I took advantage of. That was great.
Yeah. So there's a question in Facebook from Michelle. Hi, Michelle. How are you? So Michelle is actually a Logic user, and which is awesome for composing and MIDI and all kinds of stuff. And she's been streaming her live orchestral performances through Logic. She doesn't want to get too detailed, but she thinks that Ableton would be way smoother to stream. She's a little lost at how to make the transition. Do you guys have any recommendations for someone making the switch or general streaming with Ableton advice? I mean, I would say I'm curious if you want to just chat to us what you're streaming with, what platform you're streaming with, because I don't really feel like the streaming part is going to make that much of a difference. You know, it's more about just adapting your live set to Ableton Live if that's what you choose to do. But yeah, I'm curious which streaming service you're using to do your performances, and I would love to check them out because live orchestral performances is right up my alley. Does anyone else want to say something to Michelle on that topic? Okay. Cricket.
Well, I had the
Oh, you're muted again, Jason.
I had the same question of what's actually wrong. What is it about it that she thinks is challenging and she's having trouble solving?
Yeah. I mean, I would just say, just in general, I feel like using Ableton Live for live performance stuff is going to be a little bit easier than using Logic just because of the way that they're programmed and laid out. And Ableton Live is meant for live performance. But that being said, you can absolutely perform using Logic. You can perform using Pro Tools. You can perform using all different kinds of things. Okay, so she's saying simulcasting with Twitch using Streamlabs, OBS, and Black Hole. Okay. Nice. I mean, again, I don't really feel like you would need to change anything with your streaming setup. It's just a matter of reconfiguring, you know, your live performance stuff to use Ableton Live. Cool. Switching from project to project, the voice commentary is lost. Ah, okay. So I guess that is like a main, if you have a different project for every different song in Logic, then having it all in one project in Ableton Live, I think is definitely going to make sure that you don't lose your vocal when you change sessions, and it's just going to be all like in one master session. So I think most everyone here, who here performs live in the group? Yeah. So those of us that perform live generally have just one session for our live performance stuff. I'm gathering. There are some apps out there. I actually did use an app for a playback thing, which opened a different session automatically after every song. But that was just a little too scary, even though it always worked, but that was a little too scary to use. So I just now just try to optimize all of my sessions and make sure everything in it is, you know, low CPU and load some things in RAM if I need to, and just kind of like get the buffer size down as much as possible when streaming. And, you know, I think especially if you're performing instruments through a program like Ableton Live and streaming and using a lot of like software instruments, it might get a little heavy on the CPU for your buffer size. So I've actually set up a second computer for streaming, so I can offload the video to the second laptop. Who all in the group is doing that? I'm not doing it all the time, but I do have it set up just for when I'm like running like my main session. Who here in the group is doing that?
Could you elaborate on that?
Just having a second laptop for streaming or a second computer for streaming. Is anyone doing that?
I'm only using just one.
And I think a few people like in the previous weeks have been doing
Yeah, me
that.
too.
Yeah, but I think the challenge with that obviously is when if you're doing something like Zoom and you're sending it out through a second laptop, then you can't talk in real time like we're doing now because there's a little bit of delay. But if you're just streaming, you know, using something like the Elgato Cam Link or the Blackmagic mini recorder, you can send the HDMI out from the first machine into the second machine, and stream the video and the audio through OBS or whatever platform of your choice. And so that can create a little bit of a happier system on your main rig so that you can get that buffer size down and the latency down. Yeah, Michelle says she's doing live cello, orchestral tracks, and her second computer is so old. I mean, I still think even if you just have a second computer, it's definitely possible to stream. I think just kind of splitting it up and getting it off the one, especially if you're doing live cello, because I play violin and I always joke about buffer size, and people know, we talked about this last week when I have guests into any of my master classes, the first question I ask is, what's your buffer size? Because it's such a personal question, what's your buffer size? And then they're like, if anyone says anything over 128, I'm like, how is that even possible? It's very latent for me if I'm trying to play violin or do vocals through live, if it's over 128. So hopefully that answers your questions, Michelle. There's a couple of other questions, and feel free to let us know if you have any other questions, Michelle.
Actually, if I could just jump in, because I noticed something that Michelle said about one of the other types of things. Michelle, you mentioned that switching from project to project, the voice commentary is lost. So this happens in Logic if you have multiple projects open, because I'm also certified in Logic, so I'm just saying this. But the idea is that if you ever running playback or streaming in Logic, you also want to keep it to one project. The other thing that you could do is you could run multiple Logic projects, have them open in the different tab views that you can see in Logic, but you can use a separate program, say Audacity, which is just a very straightforward type of audio editor that also records audio. So that way, if you still wanted to keep to Logic, you could still do that, but record the commentary in Audacity. That's it.
Oh, that's a great tip. Thanks, Claire. Actually, can you write that in our resource document? That'd be so cool. Awesome. So another question from Dan, Insta Live isn't really ready for all the live content. What's the best platform for live streaming, YouTube or Facebook? I mean, I think this is just a personal preference. Everyone's got their own personal preference. I actually did something yesterday that I'm quite proud of, that I want to share, because it was the first time that I'd used Yellow Duck to stream to Instagram. Such a weird name for software, but I did a performance on Eventide's Instagram yesterday, and the night before I'd done one on my own Instagram, and I was using the IRig Duo, which is this guy here, and it just plugs directly into your phone, and then you plug in your cables from your sound card or mixer or what have you, and then you can stream higher quality audio into your phone to use for Instagram Live. So a lot of people are using either the iRig or the Roland Go, and this is all in my live streaming document, the main document, which we could definitely share with the group. But the sound was cutting out. So I was performing and I was getting dropouts where it was going back and forth between the really clean IRig Duo sound and then going back to the onboard mic on my phone. And it just didn't sound good. And I still don't know exactly why that's happening. So I decided to just set it up with OBS and use Yellow Duck. So basically, and I can actually probably show you guys if I open up OBS. So let me just share my screen real quick. So here we have OBS. So essentially what I did was I changed the settings and I changed a profile. So I had a regular profile, which it's not formatted right now, but just for Facebook. I don't know why that happened, and then I did one for Instagram Live. And then I put my logo and my name here, and then you know, I have like different cameras that I can choose from here. And so for instance, this one, and then I had it formatted there. So what I did was I went into the video output, and I made it 1080 by 1920 in order to get this size here. And then I went to this application called Yellow Duck. And what you do is you input your Instagram information, and then you can just say, allow commenting, save video to story. Now, this is a third-party application, so use at your own risk. But I didn't experience any problems with it. So then I logged in, and then it gives you your RTMP key. So I went back to my settings, and then under stream, went to put the server in there, and you can see the stream key, and then clicked OK. And then what I did was I actually recorded it here, and I streamed it from here as well, so that because I wasn't able to save the video afterwards, Eventide can still upload it to their IGTV. So anyway, that's kind of like the quick version of using Yellow Duck. So I think that's a really nice way to do it, because like the sound quality was just like very clean. It was coming from my sound card. Like I was able to change videos. I was able to change angles in real time using Stream Deck on my phone, which is an app for changing profiles, changing scenes in OBS. So I would just say, like, but going back to Dan's question about Instagram not being ready for all the live content, I think it really is. It just depends on, you know, how you're setting it up. And does anyone else have a comment on like what their favorite platform for live streaming is? Like what you guys are using mostly? Like Claire, I know you're kind of like, Claire's like covering all the bases. Claire's like on Twitch, she's on Instagram. And I actually got an idea from Claire because I went to her Instagram one day, and she was like, hey, I'm actually like over on Twitch, you know. And so what I did for a couple of my live streams that I was doing, like masterclasses on YouTube, I pinned something in Instagram, and I just said, hey, I'm over here at this URL if you want to like come join over there. So I think it's cool to kind of use the different platforms to send people to one or the other. And I'm not sure if that brings engagement down on Instagram or not. Someone had suggested that, but yeah, I don't know. Claire, do you want to talk about some of your experiences maybe?
Yeah, sure. So far, it's interesting you mentioned the engagement thing, Laura, because like that was a main concern of mine also.
Yeah.
But I realized that at least for my case, for my followers, whoever had Twitch ended up moving over into Twitch. And just so everyone's kind of on the same page, Twitch is a platform that a lot of people use for game streaming. So you'll actually see like gamers broadcasting their streams. And to be honest, I only started using it because I work a lot with youth and young kids, and a lot of my kids that I teach are on Twitch. So they're like, you should be on Twitch. And I'm like, okay, sure. So I started with that. But as for engagement for Instagram, I realized that whenever I pinned like a comment to an Instagram live story that said, for example, oh, I'm actually on Twitch, that's why I'm facing this direction, that's why you're only seeing like half of my face now, whoever had Twitch ended up still moving over to Twitch, but whoever didn't have Twitch just hung out on Instagram Live. So it actually still ended up being pretty balanced between both of the platforms.
That's great.
I noticed,
Yes.
hey, can you guys hear me? Cool.
You're a little low.
Sorry, I was just
Turn
jumping
it up.
in
Turn
late.
it up out there and
Sorry
speak.
about that. Is that better?
Oh wow.
I
Yeah.
just had to move my mic. I noticed that for DJing, if there's any type of DJing involved in the stream, which is kind of what a lot of my world has been lately, you're on streaming live on YouTube and Facebook will oftentimes trigger copyright algorithms that will shut your stream down. So a lot of DJs I guess are moving to Twitch because it doesn't have the copyright algorithms that will shut down your stream based on what it analyzes. There's definitely a lot less engagement compared to Facebook for most applications, but it's more likely to get shut down on Facebook and YouTube. If there is any copyright music involved, you might want to stay clear those channels, because it could result in strikes against your YouTube account and audio dropouts in the actual stream on Facebook.
Yeah, totally. Just to also like kind of back up what Orville just said, their YouTube content filters are like so powerful. Maybe you've experienced it before too, Orville, but like it detects like in the middle of the stream while you're still streaming, and then they'll send you an email that's like, we have detected a copyright in your stream. And usually so far when it's happened to me, it hasn't been so bad, but it's mostly because like when I stream to YouTube and use like music from other artists, it's like for musical examples and teaching purposes. But like that I've heard from other people that they have had their streams just like shut down midway. So be careful.
Yeah, that isn't cool. I wonder what, because so for instance, like when I perform my own music, it's through a third party service. Like for instance, I use the Orchard. And so I'll get emails like, hey, you have a copyright flag from Laura Escudé from the Orchard. I'm like, but I am Laura, you know. So, but I wonder like if I even played my own music. I mean, and I guess I have, and nothing's really happened. I guess because I remix stuff so much, it's not like it doesn't really sound like the original track. But I wonder if that's the thing with artists, because if we're going through a third party organizer for the music, then I guess that they would just still be flagged in the same way.
Yeah, James actually just mentioned in the chat that he's been shut down for playing his own tracks too. So
yeah. Oh man, that's so weird.
That is crazy. That is just crazy. You know,
Yeah.
how it's gonna know that's you? The technology isn't there yet.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll just add to that. I had my own tracks when I uploaded them to SoundCloud. They were taken down also for claim of copyright. Then I offered them to send them the project of how I made the track in Ableton, which was really funny. And I even heard the reference track of the ones that they thought that was like mine, and it wasn't even close. So it's like a software issue.
Oh, but in your case, it wasn't your song. It was something else.
It was mine. Yeah.
Oh, it was yours.
Yeah. Original track that I just made, finished it, uploaded it, and it was like after 10 minutes it was offline with like a claim of a copyright from another track. And I heard it and it wasn't even close. It was like a heavy 808 thing, which actually
Yeah, I see, but the other track was not yours, right?
no.
Okay, got it.
I experienced. I think it's worth saying that I can turn my camera on too. I think it's worth saying that in the case of streaming, YouTube I've found just monetizes the stream. They just put ads on it. They don't take it down. Whereas Facebook shuts it down and sends you an email. And if you're doing it under a company page, not a personal page, they will shut it down way faster. If it's through a personal page, I've found that the algorithm is less finicky, but if it's a business page that's doing streaming, they're really more quick to shut you down. So you got to watch out for that.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because it seems like YouTube would want to just monetize it, after the fact.
I've never actually heard of a YouTube stream getting shut down. One of my music partners in my band does these DJ sets of all his own original tracks all the time. A lot of people do that, but they're all like released on labels. So he cannot do it on Facebook at all because he gets shut down automatically. But then he does it on YouTube and he never gets any issues. There's just always ads on his streams. So.
Yeah, word to the wise. Choose your platforms wisely. I guess someone was asking about which platform, right? So I guess it really just matters what kind of material you're playing. First and foremost, before you think about quality, in terms of quality, I have heard that YouTube broadcasts at a higher quality than Facebook, and that's why there's so much of a lag on YouTube because like, for instance, I'm looking at both of our streams right now, and like the YouTube one is, at least probably like 5-6 seconds behind the Facebook one. So I think that's because of the quality, but I'm not sure. Does anyone know about that?
I noticed a lot higher quality on Twitch, just overall audio and video compared to most of the Facebook streams as well, just from like the last few that I've done.
Yeah, I was actually just reading an article since does Amazon owns Twitch, right? Yeah, so Amazon owns Twitch, and because everyone's streaming, especially in Europe, I guess quite a bit more than in the States on Twitch, they degraded the video and audio quality because how many people are on it. So I'm curious if that is going to happen here or not, given a lot of people are jumping over to Twitch right now. But I mean, it seems like it's still, pretty good quality from what I understand. I haven't really been over there that much. I mean, do you guys, someone want to speak to the Twitch experience? Claire, maybe? Anyone else using Twitch?
It's just like, oh, sorry, I cut
No,
you.
I'd love to hear your input first. I was waiting because mine is more surface level. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sure. I think like for me, I've done like the cool thing about Twitch, which maybe a lot of people, like I mentioned, it's for a slightly like younger demographic so far. So a lot of my younger audience has been on Twitch already, and then it's like the moment you start streaming, it's like they kind of gravitate towards you automatically through that. And I think also it's in a way just like a great platform for I so far. So just to put things into context, I've been using Twitch not just for like daily streaming, but I've also done like 2 virtual festivals on Twitch. And basically what happens is that everyone kind of has like a stream key that they have, and everyone basically it's almost like a little bit like a password of sorts. So everyone has a certain password that they all apply to their own live stream, and then they can broadcast automatically. So it's actually a really cool way of doing a virtual festival type of thing. And then because of the overall just feel of Twitch compared to maybe YouTube, which certain younger folks think is very hoity-toity or whatever, people tend to have a little bit more fun on Twitch sometimes, I think. And also because like the way that the chats work on Twitch is very much for it's a little bit like Discord. For if anyone uses Discord, that's the same vibe. So it tends to have like a happier, more like, yeah, we're just all kind of messing around type of thing, versus YouTube. It's like they have your official name, there's like your link to your channel and all of that. So I feel like Twitch is a little bit of a better like celebratory environment so far.
I think another reason for that is just that there's the immersion of all the advertisements. When you're on Twitch, it's a little more controlled of an environment. And so I think the younger kids, the generation, people have a good reason to like that better and feel more free, because you don't have sidebars popping up selling you stuff the whole time. The other thing I was going to say, yeah, about the Twitch thing is that the younger generation, and maybe it's just because they grew up playing video games all the time or whatever, at least in my demographics of the students that I work with, they all feel really, really comfortable on Twitch. Whereas other platforms, like they don't even have a Facebook account. That shit's for old people.
Who you calling old? Just kidding.
Hey, Laura. I have a question. I heard talking something on the Facebook group about using two instances of Yellow Duck and 2 stream keys. I didn't quite got it.
Well, so it didn't work actually. So, but I think I realized what may have gone wrong is because I didn't realize that you have to use the stream key within 2 minutes of creating it. And so I basically had a friend of mine do, because I wanted to stream on mine and the Eventide Instagram at the same time.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. You wanted to make the same stream for 2 different accounts on Instagram.
Yeah, and so I went into Restream and I put the 2 stream keys and created like an aggregate stream. But I don't think I did it quickly enough, because from what I read afterwards, you need to use the stream key within 2 minutes, otherwise it will be invalid. So, word to the wise. Yeah, and then someone else, Kevin, over on Facebook, was just asking about Yellow Duck, and I've heard different stories. Like I definitely asked in the certified trainers group, and no one had any issues with Yellow Duck. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the answer to whether or not Instagram would like shut down your account or anything like that. I haven't heard of that happening, but I'm just curious, Kevin, if you're still on, to just say if you've had any experiences with Yellow Duck. Yeah. Let's look at some other questions. So Tal is here. What's up, Tal? She's having a hard time with OBS. It's super harsh on your computer, and your computer isn't weak. Huh. Does anyone here want to speak to that, OBS? I mean, I'm not really having any issues personally. And maybe it's some settings, like maybe it's video settings, or maybe you want to like bump down the output settings. Is it maybe that's the only kind of thing that I could think of, really.
I noticed that different input sources are going to tax your system kind of greater in different ways than others. Like with OBS and with Wirecast, which is the paid alternative. You can do things like use your phones as wireless cameras, and that that takes a lot more processing power to feed video into it. Yeah, Epo Cam, and then with Wirecast, there's you can do it with Epoch Cam or just an IP stream if it's an Android phone. But I noticed this, depending on what type of input sources, it makes a big difference on the overall performance. So it's possible, you know, if it's just one webcam and a mic, it's probably not going to slow you down. But if you're doing a lot of different sources at the same time, I did notice a lag in performance with OBS.
Hey, Orville, did you actually try using the Android as a IP camera?
I've successfully got the IP camera app working on a couple Android phones I had at the house that tested out, and it worked really well. It's just you just get
did you use it on a Mac or on a Windows machine?
I've only tested it on a Mac system.
Yeah, and did you use it like over the internet or Wi-Fi internet, or did you like reroute it so you go through the USB? Because like I heard this tip that you could get like a much higher quality if you just route it by the USB, and it works with much better.
Yeah, yeah, you can also you can plug your phone in directly and use your phone's camera as a wired source. But I did notice, though, just with the IP Cam app, it worked pretty well, doing it all wirelessly. Most, like, you can plug your phone in and it'll display everything that's on the screen of the phone. And it makes it a little tricky because there isn't an app that will show you the output of the camera without actually while hiding the camera controls on it. So like if you have your phone plugged in, I don't know if you guys can see it, like you can see that like the record buttons and the time counter will show up on the screen. So that's a little bit of a limitation. I haven't found a workaround for it, but
yeah, actually that didn't happen with me. I got a clean screen.
Okay. Yeah, and that was with the iPhone or with an Android?
With an Android, yeah. I can maybe post a link of the app I used.
Cool.
Workaround?
Sorry?
What was the workaround? How did you cut it from the screen? All the rest you didn't want to see, Orville?
You're cutting out a little bit.
So just I just transmitted it over the Wi-Fi network. So as long as your devices are on the same Wi-Fi network or your home network, you can stream that IP address. It'll give you a video URL link, which you can import as a media source inside of OBS, and that will stream directly to your phone. Alternatively, Epoch Cam does it. There's also a third-party OBS webcam app for your iPhones. It's $15, and I haven't tested it out yet because Epoch Cam seemed to work well. And also Wirecast has their own app that allows you to use your phone, just only iPhones, as wireless cameras as well.
Yeah, I really like this solution because like so many people have a Android phone and with a really good camera, much better sometimes than a Logitech 920. So it's right there. Like, why not use it? And some people have like 2 or 3 phones laying around, so it's a really good solution. But my experience with over the Wi-Fi was not quite good. So I was trying to get it to work on Mac through the USB cable, but I haven't managed to do that yet.
I'll try to send the link to the IP Cam app for Android that worked really well.
Yeah, and I just sent the one that I use that didn't have any overlays. The image was just clean.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think I actually didn't test doing a direct line with the Android phones. I only tested it with my iPhone. But yeah, I'll definitely check those out.
Cool. So David was talking. David is back, right?
Hey.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You said on the document on the forum, the quest for real-time jamming online goes on. We're making some progress. Me and a couple of colleagues could sort of jam together using Jamulus. The testing will continue if someone wants to test what happens over a longer distance and try jamming. You want to just speak to your experiments? Because are you using a server there where you're at, or?
Yeah, we set up a Joomla server at our school at the university. So we got like the fattest internet connection on earth to that school, so that's good. And we all are equipped with fiber at home. And with this, we got ping times at everyone's house down to like 20 to 25 milliseconds, which means that Gregorian songs are no problem at all. You can sing Gregorian songs. Playing like really weird fusion music is harder, but we're working on it. But for some sorts of some genres, it works. But I'm keen to test with, because the goal is to use it with the students, of course, and we can't expect them to have the ultimate connections and setups, all of them at home. So it would be nice to field test it, so to speak, with different connections. And I'm eager to try it with jamming with live. I don't know if it makes it better or worse to have a metronome going, so you have, like you said, a BPM and I don't know, push play at the same time or something. So you don't get a drift and you can follow your own. You just hear the other person 40-50 milliseconds behind or something. But I'm keen to experiment because I'm so stuck on that idea of getting to jam in a traditional sense online. So yeah, we're working on it, so to speak. And I'm totally up if someone wants to, hook up on the server and jam for a bit. I won't give you the IP address in the chat or on Facebook, but in some sort of personal, we can, hook up and try it out. And just send me your name and yeah.
Maybe let's just raise our hands. Just
everyone wants to join in, raise your hand, and there we got them. Okay.
We already tried to do the clapping in time and
yeah,
I know. I missed that.
choir.
I missed that last week, but I watched the replay of the wonderful choir last session. It was beautiful. But
wonderful is definitely subjective.
Yeah, but it was modern and it was experimental. But at our Joomla server we could certainly do some choir singing. That's no problem. But play syncopated 16 notes are not so much. Yeah, you know what I. But Roy and Pedro, you're up for a jam Sunday?
Definitely. And actually, I tried setting up a server.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. It just didn't got online. I couldn't see it listed. Maybe it's the port for it. It's on the ports on my router. I should open them. I think that's it. I haven't tried that yet. But I'm really looking forward to try that. I have some Yeah, I have some more news because I have been on this quest as well, like really hard, trying every single app, every single possibility. And on our last chat, Dan Giffen suggested trying the Now You Hear Me app.
Yeah.
It's like a business partner of him, Ben Spilker. And it was actually a pretty interesting ride. You know, I tried installing by myself and it didn't quite work. And then I get on the support and I got Ben, the developer of the app, right online and just spent a lot of time with me. And then we got on Skype for like, I don't know, 2 to 3 hours talking about all this technology, about listening to other movers and how to make it and such, and about his app. So like I learned a lot, I think, with the experience with him. And yeah, it's not looking so good right now for real-time collaboration, like really low latency. But what we got out of our chat is that his app is doing something that's actually enabling us to use Ableton Link remotely. So like you can be running Ableton Link and we kind of join the same virtual offline network, and we can have the same IP range, and you just enable Ableton Link and bam, now we are in sync, right? So that's a great thing for MIDI and like just launching clips and stuff. So I started setting up that thing. So there's this app. It's called Zero Tier. I'm gonna drop a link here. And what it does, it enables you to make a virtual network where you can have the same IP range. So basically, Ableton Link remotely, and it's not hard to set up. So I have to actually get into it and do some more testing, but it seems like the most real thing I can work on right now in terms of remote collaboration and actually being in sync, you know. But there's still a problem if the latency, the overall latency, it's higher than like 1 bar, then you're gonna only sync on the next bar. So there's this little things to work on. But if you have a like fiber connection really good and you do this, it might be really cool. It might be really actually useful.
Yeah, I'm really hoping for this. I was dropping in the group when I talked about Jamless at some point. I mean, Jamless is open source, which means if anyone's have coding skills and stuff and a lot of free time, they could try to, you know, couldn't they try to implement Link in that? But that's probably what this Now You Hear Me thing does, or is it? Is it sort of it's sending?
It's part of it, yeah.
It's a part of it, yeah. But well, as said, the quest goes on. We also tried doing stuff on you know, like online DAWs, like Soundtrap and Soundation and BandLab and stuff. And we had surprisingly good results on the Soundtrap. I don't know if you tried it, but we're just a colleague of mine. He had recorded some trumpet on it, and he just wrote me a message and said, would you like to put some keyboard on this? Of course. And then we were in the session at the same time, and bam, it was the thing was there, and we could video chat in it, and we could record both of our voices in the same project at the same time, singing along to what we just recorded. And I was the one pushing the record button, which means he was like, I don't know, between 50 and 100 milliseconds behind, but we could do it. But we can't rehearse how to play tight, but we can make music. That we could do, actually.
I like ambient music.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
Experimental.
I'm very sorry. I have some problem with my son again, who just woke up, and so that's my life here in Sweden at the evenings. But I will be back again, so don't forget me. I leave myself on.
Good luck with that.
Has anyone tried Jam Kazam?
Yeah, I tried that.
Okay, what was your experience?
Not very good. I think one of the main problems, as other people said, was just the latency of the internet connection. I have a fairly strong connection, and the person who told me about it, who wanted to try it, doesn't. And um, it it just was problematic to just try and get anything done because of the timing issues. I also found it a little bit clunky in the setup of defining what your audio interface is and where the sound's coming from and going. And the other thing that I don't know if we just didn't figure it out or if it's just the way it is that on my side, if I was hosting the session, on my side, I could see all the separate tracks I was doing, like one from live and my voice and a guitar. But on his side, I only saw everything of his coming through on what was called the keyboard channel, which was just one of his channels. So the like info I got about it was that everybody was able to mix everybody. So if I wanted to turn my guitar up, I could do it and it wouldn't turn his up. But all I could get from him was just one stream of everything, and so it was kind of awkward.
I just want to add to something you said before, that you used the screen, not screen capture, this mouse thing that you can control his computer. I just tried it yesterday and today, and it was not that it was laggy. I was just a bit behind trying to do like a volume twist, and it was just jumping to +10, minus 50. It was just, it's really, it's quite hard to make mixing, like making mixing on like a host and do stuff like that. It's quite hard. So if you did it, I guess that you had a really good internet connection. Otherwise, it's just impossible.
Yeah, I did find it kind of difficult to do it.
To twist knobs, I mean, it was just, especially when it's very small.
I feel like we're in an era that that was pre-computer music, but on the internet and the fast connection thing. It feels like we're talking about challenges that we face that were pre-computer recordings. So I guess that in a couple of years, especially in this area of the whole COVID-19 thing, where everyone is streaming stuff and wanting to do live sessions. So it's kind of before we had the modern solutions. So modern solutions will come. That's what I feel. Kind of weird that we're talking about these challenges.
5G. 5G is getting. Once we have 5G, it's gonna be possible. It's gonna work.
I think we need 10G stuff that we want to do. We need 10 at least.
10G, because it has to go and come back.
Yeah. If you want to play drums, you need 10G at least. At least. It needs to be immediate.
I'm just trying to not live near any 5G towers because that stuff is not good for our brains at all. So Graham had a couple of questions. Graham, did you want to pop in and say what's up? You wanted to know if anyone's doing game audio or sound design for AR, VR. Anyone have any Unity or Unreal programming experience? So I just wanted to speak to that real quick. I don't have any programming experience, but I do collaborate with someone who designed an Unreal video engine for me when I perform live. So got a little bit of experience with it, but yeah, do you want to speak to the group and ask questions?
Sure. I've been getting pretty hot into it with different, different parts of the game, I guess. Obviously, I come from more of a music background than a gaming or programming background. But with that said, I did get kind of energized about it last year. I went to the AES conference in New York and just saw so many presentations that seemed to be, in that area. So I organized a game jam on my campus, and then that went really well. And the more I looked into what the challenges were for integrating audio into something like Unity or Unreal, I learned more about these middleware applications called Wise and Fmod. Those are the two major ones that are out there. And so Wise had a real clear certification path, and that's kind of an easy way to go in terms of, kind of learning something and then proving that you're good at it enough to teach it, so that's kind of a direction that I headed in. So I got the Wise certification, and then I went ahead and did the Wise instructor certification also, so that I can, offer that certification in an academic setting. And so what I found is that, a lot of it is focused really on the game preparation. So when it comes to sound design and sound development, it's really about like, how can I implement, for example, if I pull the trigger on a gun, how can I implement the sounds that I want in the order that I want and have them randomize, so many different aspects of those sounds that I provided that if you did that repeatedly, like 100 million times in a row, they would all sound fairly different and it wouldn't sound stale. So it's stuff like that. Or for example, another example would be footsteps, like how do I create footsteps on certain surfaces and receive the information from the game and deliver the sounds in the proper order and with the proper randomization and things like that. And so that was all interesting to me, but I didn't really find a musical aspect as much to it, right? As just a kind of like an implementation of sound design ideas. And then I came across some other material recently where it was much more about creating music that was more integrated into the game and more integrated into the software. So it was a lot less about how to get a sound to fire off or something along those lines, and much more about how to interact with the game via your musical composition. And that really sparked kind of a lot more interest from me in terms of what I could do with Wise and how I could utilize Wise to generate this kind of interactive music. And so I was just wondering, does anybody out there have any experience with generating interactive music with any of these middleware applications? And what would the tie be with Ableton Live? I know that, and I've read, like people like Ben Casey have said that there are people out there that have developed Max for Live integrations that go between, the Ableton Live platform and then Wise or Fmod or something like that. But they're all, owned by some video game company or something like that. So they're not really available out there at, maxforlive.com or whatever. So I was just kind of wondering like what people had done. Obviously, there are other DAWs that really excel at this. Reaper being probably the most common one, and then Nuendo, interestingly enough, has a ton of new, ideas for generating sounds and then implementing them within Wise or Unity. They have kind of ways in and out of the programs for that, and that's something that Ableton has certainly not got on board with. There's been a little bit of chat on the Ableton Certified Trainer list about it, but at any rate, I was just kind of like reaching out, trying to see who had done it. I've seen some people post about it in the recent past. Like I've got a couple tabs up here, just kind of remind myself like who it was. But like Tom Carlisle, and just kind of like to mention a couple of other ACTs, Brian Jackson, Andrew Luck. These are the people that Jeff Ertz, people that I know that have kind of gotten into it. Seraphin, Meta Junction Recordings. Those are people who've kind of mentioned that they knew people that did it or they did it themselves. So I'm just kind of reaching out, just saying this is of interest to me. And I'm kind of getting into it from both an academic and a commercial standpoint. So throwing it out there.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, my experience with it is just literally like translating the MIDI coming from my rig to Unreal on a different machine and just running that and controlling objects with my violin or controllers and things like that, just the way that I have it set up. But I don't know about like Fmod or any of that other stuff. I mean, I've heard about the software, but does anyone else in the group know about such things, or anyone in the chat on Facebook or on YouTube want to speak to this? Anyone? No, crickets.
That's cool. So just to throw this out there, I'm gonna
curve.
I'm gonna actually probably do some development of materials that I'm gonna utilize in delivery to Ableton user groups, because I'd like to see more of the tie between what I consider like a pretty large audience in terms of video game development, and that whole market is so huge. I mean, if you think about it, it's like the size of the music industry and the film industry combined, you know, as the video game market. So it's like it's much larger than what we normally think of as like our core kind of customer base or whatever. So it's fascinating to me that that hasn't seen a lot of action from people. I think that there's a lot of game designers and people like that that do use Ableton Live to create their music with, but it's that implementation level that I'm kind of interested in. And if you look at there's this fantastic Facebook group called Hey Audio Student, and so it's kind of an academic oriented thing. But what I find really interesting about it is that the guy that runs it is kind of a I guess a insomniac or whatever, and he stays up all night and he posts all these job listings for audio related jobs. And I would love to see somebody break down the stats on it, but it does seem like 50% or so of those jobs that are in our field are game oriented jobs. And so like realistically, when I'm teaching my students to think about what their interests are, first of all, and then where the jobs actually are, this is a huge area, right? I mean, I think that there's a lot of employment opportunities for folks that are interested in this kind of stuff. When I do these meet and greets with 17, 18-year-olds, and I say, who has played a game in the past 7 days? And I mean, it's 100%. Every single person has played in that age group a video game in the past 7 days. And I know you guys have seen this kind of streaming stuff on Facebook where you see people streaming themselves playing video games, and they have 3,000 people are watching them play a video game through Facebook, and then they're generating these stars and generating like thousands of dollars for people to watch them play video games. So it's a crazy industry to watch from a distance. And I think that there are some really valid implementation ideas that could be utilized with Ableton and Max for Live, as the combination of those things. So I'm just fascinated to see what is out there.
Graham, super quickly, do you actually know Loudon Stearns? He's another CT as well.
Mm-hmm.
Loudon might actually have something to maybe say about it, because we did a project, I think last year at this point, with actually a couple of the people who are watching on Facebook, but we did this giant project where we bridged Unity, Ableton Live, and another thing called Lightroom that does like LED and lighting DMX type things.
Sure.
And we were sending everything controlled from Max. So we had this giant Max patch that was basically sending like OSC messages to every program at the same time. And I was more in charge of like the DMX and the Ableton Live stuff, but Loudon was doing a lot of the overarching like relations between the Unity and the Ableton Live side. So he might be a brain that's worth tapping on.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I think Claire, did you want to talk about your questions, or just I think you had just some comments, right, about projects that you're working on? You said figuring out ways to translate in-person group lessons into online lessons.
Sure. I nearly forgot I wrote that, but yeah, just maybe even like the couple of people I know who are even in the Zoom meeting at the moment, because I know a lot of us are educators also for a younger group of kids and also for beginners. But one thing that I used to love about teaching in person, especially in a group setting, is like you have several students together And then you can actually have time where everyone's, trying out their own stuff. Like now we have time to all have 15 minutes our own to like play with push. And then you can kind of go around in that class setting and, work one-on-one with students. So far, I found that in my attempt to kind of bring my teaching in that regard online, a lot of that one-on-one and exploratory time kind of gets taken away. So I end up like saying, instead of having a 2-hour lesson with time for one-on-one for everybody, it ends up being super condensed into like a 1-hour lesson where everyone's just watching me speak about something. So I guess I'm curious as to if there are any other educators here, especially those who work with maybe children or youth specifically, what approaches maybe you're taking to translate group larger lessons into the online realm. Thanks.
I also tried. I also have younger students. The youngest one was like 9 years old. My youngest students, but I've tried to do exactly how you describe the normal classroom situation. I tried it a couple of times with various results. That is, we are all in the same Zoom session, and I do as I always do. I spend like 10-15 minutes showing what we are planning to experiment with today, or some kind, and then I leave them to their own computers, so they work at home, and now I'm and there's another problem. Everyone don't have, for the first of all, they don't have live at home. Well, some do, and some don't even have proper computers. They have like Chromebooks and stuff, so it's kind of diverse. But anyways, they start working, and if they need help, they shout or like anything. And then I do a breakout room in Zoom. So I take the student into a different room, and they like share their screen, and I show, you push this button over here and whatever. And when we're done, back to the same session with the other ones. And it works kind of good. The flip side is that I can't walk around and see when they're having problems, but will hesitate to shout out to me. But I've tried to do it for not 2-hour classes, but 1 hour. Well, I think it could get better if we, practice it. Because even from their perspective, it's a different situation. That's another problem online, getting the group dynamic going and the discussion of whatever. I play some music and what do you all think? And it's just dead silent in the Zoom group because it's a totally different thing to talk like we do right now. I tried it, and then I used, as said, breakout rooms in Zoom. That was kind of nice.
Yeah, thanks. I think I also did try the breakout room things as well. And like, just to clarify also, like, I'm not doing the 2 hours anymore. The 2 hours used to be for the in-person, and then now it's kind of like a little shorter. But it's partially because also for a number of reasons, I find that just like a lot of the younger kids are so restless. Like you make them sit down and stare at a computer screen and they're just like, moo. And also like I've had some conversations with like the parents of certain students that I teach, and there is definitely a lot of concern about like screen time and stuff like that. So I just want to be mindful of that too. Like I've had some parents kind of give me mixed feelings about like, yes, we want our kid to be distracted, so please take my kid, but also don't take them for too long. So then it's like, okay, how do you do that? It's like, what do you want? But yeah, they need help with that. But Graham thanks so much for those suggestions. Those are great. Thanks, Graham. Appreciate it.
Why don't you read what they are so that people in the...
Yeah, sure. So Graham was suggesting Piano Maestro from Joy Tunes to teach piano to young folks. So definitely going to look into that. Very cool. Thanks.
One thing that I noticed that helps keep engagement during online lessons as opposed to in person is just being able to do some back and forth. Like usually it's a one-way screen share for private lessons, but a way to kind of emulate, just allowing, if it is in a group setting, you can assign just specific amounts of time for one of the students to share their screen. Then everyone can work on their specific example, then take turns and have, just by keeping the screen sharing interactive and taking turns it's a little bit helpful in just keeping everyone involved and participating and engaged.
Yeah, I believe the only problem with that is that I don't want to force everyone to share their screen in front of the other students, because they are on quite different levels, and I have like total beginners and some who has been around me for like a year or more. So it could be sort of, I don't know. It feels weird to just force them to show their stuff. I don't force them to play their music in front of the others in classroom either. But another thing that came to mind that I did was that I started showing them. In that case, was actually they got to try modular synthesis. So I had what's it called? Cameuzu or something, that free VST modular synth, looking like a Roland 100 system. And I showed them how it worked. And then I shared my screen, and they got to request remote control of my screen. So they took turns of doing in my project on my computer. And that got, the interaction got going in that way. But in the end, I want them to make their own songs. That's the end goal. But that was a sweet, well, that was a nice moment, so to speak.
I have just a short question. I was trying yesterday to share screens, but also share audios at the same time. But I saw that in Zoom, you're not allowed to share audios and both sharing screens. Am I the only one who had the? And I also read that it's like it's not possible to share both screen and both audios in the same time.
In both directions, you mean?
Yeah.
Or
like you share your computer sounds with Ableton and your student in the same time. Not possible.
I think you have to do one at a time, right? But I think
why?
I'm not sure if you would need to see both screen. I don't know. I can't think of a scenario where it would be necessary to see both at the same time without it's like I said, it's like a demonstration on mine, and then they could feedback their screen and audio back to me. That's been doing a lot of lately for my private sessions. So,
well, one situation could be that I want you all to program this exact drum rhythm that I have written here in my project.
Exactly.
But in that case, I like the other week, I sent out, I shared the MIDI files with them instead, so it just didn't click them in. So, but that was a different thing. But I think that could be a situation. But it feels like I have dreamt it, but I don't know, that I have seen a setting in Zoom that you can turn this feature on.
Which one?
Am I the only one?
Which
feature, so we can share both ways at the same time.
No, you dreamt it.
I have. Okay, I've dreamt it. Yeah, but it was a beautiful dream. It was. But okay.
What I'm doing, I'm sending the listen to Chrome, and I let them and me being in Chrome, but we're eating up our internet, which is quite a pain. But this is the only way to do it, like to share both and have Zoom. But I tend to find that getting things complicated to students, it's quite a challenge, because a lot of them are not techies. They're just people who wants to get into this thing. And once you're trying to get starting to get a bit complicated, even listen to, it's like drag the plugin, put it in an audio channel, and then and you listen to me, I listen to you, and then share your audio from the Zoom. It's also it's quite, it's like things which for us are like very super simple, but I tend to see that it's like the solutions need to be super simple. With all ages, it can be really young, and it can also be 40 or 50 years old. Many of the people that come to us are not necessarily people with experience or artists or tech nerds. Just people want to come into this world. So we need to have this solution as one of the challenges, just to have it as simple as possible. And in many cases, it's not simple at all, especially when you're sharing to listen to, and you're trying to maybe. I saw that when you try to make the quality 320 and have the latency 0.1, you're just having like drops in the audio, which is also a pain. So yeah, Amir, I think we need to get this the solutions as fast as possible. For as long as this COVID thing is continuing, we just need to find something fast, because that would be nice.
Are you guys having all of your students turn on original sound on Zoom?
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All of them have like an audio interface. Many of them just are playing with their intern. So it's also very easy to just tell them, hey, put it like share with my audio and with my computer audio. It's just super simple.
Yeah, I mean, I think that brings up like another point that we talked about earlier, but some of the high quality audio ways, because I know people are always kind of looking for ways to increase the audio quality. So obviously we've discussed listen to quite a bit on this call, using the Zoom turn on original sound. Are there other kind of resources that you guys would recommend? I mean, I guess in OBS, changing the rate to 320 for audio output would be another one. Does anyone want to kind of jump in and add some more?
No. Definitely, the listen to seems to be almost lossless audio transmission from my experiments. There's using the direct audio, using the virtual Zoom audio interface out of live. There's a lot of audible and inconsistent compression in the audio transmission. But the listen to definitely seems to resolve most of that. But it is an extra steps in order to get the audio broadcast out with it. But I think the extra steps are worth the improvements in fidelity that you hear.
Really. Yesterday, I just spoke with somebody who told me about something called Studio Gate, which seems to work like listen to. It's called Studio Gate. I just hop onto their website. I didn't have time to download it and such, but it seems to be also like a plugin, and they also offer a really high quality sound, and I just need to check it out. So Studio Gate.
Like GATE or?
Yeah, Gate. Studio Gate. I'll just check the link and.
Oh, okay. I found it.
Yeah. I need to check it. I didn't check it. I just saw the website, but it seems
not
like
endorsed by Roy. Roy's like, I'm not endorsing it. It's a maybe. We'll do it. We'll come back next week and see if you endorse it. Maybe next week we should try an online jam. I think that might be interesting. See what we can do. So with listen to though, because I've only used it to stream out, but if you're using it with multiple people, is it pretty synced to what you're doing on screen, or is it kind of laggy?
Well, there's no video component to listen to. It's just the audio.
No, I know that, but is the audio matching pretty much?
It's 0.1. That's the fastest 0.1. And when you put it on 0, it's very, very close. It's not not like one-on-one, but it's the closest I ever saw, and it sounds good.
I think it might even be faster than the video transmission in a lot of cases. I haven't noticed any lag either for as far as having the audio not sync up to the video.
Yeah, I tried recording. Like I got my desktop machine and my MacBook Pro. I got them linked with Ableton Link, so I did some recording in sync so I could measure the latency. And listen to is actually pretty stable. It is always giving to me 0.1 seconds of latency if I choose that. If I choose 0.2, it's giving me every time 0.2. If it can deliver, the audio will drop down. But it's gonna deliver every time the same latency. As far as Zoom, every time the latency is different. So sometimes it's much faster. It goes like really good, like almost real time. And if the bandwidth goes down, it's gonna start lagging more and more. So actually a real sync from like Zoom or Skype, Meet, whatever, with Listen to, it's like impossible, I think.
Just a question for Jason. Could you maybe tell us how do you use the plugins? You said that you put them on auxiliary channels. I just put them on a group today, so I had all my things in group and I streamed it out. Then I got my student out of the group, so he was in a separate channel and I could hear him without him hearing himself. But I found it really complex to ask him to do the same. So could you maybe you have a very simple solution of telling it to the student without getting them to blow their minds out, like with the information?
Are you talking about the setup part? How do I get the student set up?
Yeah.
Honestly, what I did was I took over his screen in Zoom, and then I just put it in there for him. And then he saw it happen and he learned how it was done instead of that whole thing about now do this, now do this. No, wait, don't do that. Back up, hit the login button. And, because if he just wanted to listen to me, the receiving plugin, you don't have to log in, but you do need the link. And so it was the same thing. I would just copy and paste the link in there so that, like you said, for a student, sometimes it's like many steps and they don't understand step 7, and so they don't quite get it. I found that just letting him watch me do it made a lot more sense to him.
Especially when this is something we're going to do again and again and again and again. Maybe they just need to learn it and maybe to write it down because they're going to do it and then they're going to master it at some point. But you're putting both the receiver and the sender on auxiliary channels, like the one that you hear yourself at and him. So you put both of them on auxiliary, and then when you want to hear him, you just put it on, put it off.
You can, in the sense of me hearing him when he's talking or when he's playing music.
Playing music.
Yeah, for him playing music, I put the send plugin just on his master. So it sent me everything happening in his track. For me playing music to him, I've done it a couple different ways. Because a lot of times what I do is I use Live as essentially like a mixing board. And so I've got music going out a certain way, and then I'm actually routing their returning Zoom audio back into Live, so that I can basically sit at Live like a mixing board and mute and unmute channels. So whatever I want to go somewhere, I can choose from there, just even using the F keys on my computer to like, well, now I want to listen to this and now I want to listen to that. Or now I want him to hear me or him to hear my music. So, yeah, if I could, maybe I could just make a session or something and save it in there, and then I could just send it and you could see how I set it up.
That would be nice. Thanks. I think it's just the worst thing I saw is just maybe when you close a project and you want to and you want to open another one, which is a thing in Ableton that you cannot open like many sessions. I mean, close them and open just a completely new one. Then you need a new link. And I thought it's starting to get very complicated. So I guess you need to stay on one session. Maybe.
Well, what I've done for that is have the one session that's open that has the connection set up. And then if I want to go to another session, I'll just grab the tracks from the browser and drag them in. So it's the same session, but with a whole different project in there.
Yeah, I did the same.
Cool. Roy, did you want to talk about, since we're on the topic of your online platforms, you mentioned in the notes for the group sheet responses that you wanted to speak about your online platforms. Is there anything in particular you wanted to share with us, or just like kind of in general? Or maybe we could all kind of, since we're going to have to wrap it up soon, maybe we could all just kind of talk about what we're working on.
I think mostly for me, it's a lot of mixing stuff. I'm getting a lot of requests for mixing. I'm doing a lot of coaching, online coaching when it's mostly one-on-one sessions, besides group. But I'm also a part of something which is education, like electronic music education for kids. It's a bit like Claire. I think you mentioned that you're also doing that. And it used to be until now on tablets. And now, of course, we cannot go to them. We cannot teach in the schools. So they are thinking about trying to find solution. And I offered actually Ableton, because I think you can get the light version for something like $5 or such. But let's see if it works on all of their computers, because some of them don't really have. Some of them are 8 years old, and good luck to me trying to explain to 8 years old, which is quite. It's nice. It's nice though. I guess the pace will be a bit slow, but let's see. I think this time, the time that we're in, and all this quarantine led us to new possibility, in terms of education, in terms of information, and I think that eventually music production will come into schools, and people will learn it as part of their music education in 8 years old, 9 years old. They're gonna start. I think it will not replace the guitar lessons that they're doing, but it will be a part of their music learning, for sure, because it's just there, So why not? And I think it's 10 times better than playing games and doing stuff like that, because it's something that stays. You're creating, you're making music. And I think that I see it as a very positive thing, which is great. So maybe schools will give chance to that, especially when kids are sitting now at home and doing everything with their computer. And I think as long as this thing will take, the parents and the teachers, they will look for some activities that the kids could do, and a lot of that will be creation, and music will be a major part of it, I think. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, so there's a feedback I've been getting from students, and they're like, they're kind of surprised because it's actually very comfortable to take a lesson of Ableton Live online. Like it's good because you're sitting on your own place, on your like you're comfortable, and if the other person can give you good audio, good connection, like it works really well. And like one student said, dude, we're never gonna see each other again. We don't have to, like it actually works. So that's a cool thing. And another tip I tried doing, so I was thinking about keep recording people producing songs and stuff, and then every time I think, damn, how are they gonna record the voice? How can I get the final voice? Because I can produce everything and I can record a bunch of instruments, I can build up the track, but then how can I get their voice in a nice quality? So I'm teaching them the cheapest microphone, the cheapest condenser microphone that works well, giving them the link. So buy this is how you're gonna use it. This is the minimum equipment you have, and then teach them first the basics how they can record themselves. And well, I'm starting up on that, but like 3 people just bought a condenser mic. And so yeah, that's a way of keep producing and keep releasing stuff.
What is that microphone, just out of curiosity?
So different ones for different budgets. There's one for like the MXL 990, MXL 770. I've had a really good experience with those. Kind of similar to the Audio Technica 2020. and there are cheaper ones. Like there's a real cheap one. It's called the B100. I can post a link here, and I don't know, in dollars should be like $25, $30, and USB mic, so the person doesn't have to get a interface. So it's just the mic directly into the USB. The quality isn't wow super, but it's usable. And if you can get like something a little better, like this Chinese MXL, they're actually very surprising. Like they work well.
Yeah, that's great because a lot of people, going full circle back to the beginning of this conversation, artists that are live streaming and are kind of for the first time approaching this online world might not have the resources financially right now to invest in, a ton of gear. And so a lot of them are asking me like, hey, what can I just start out with? And so it's good to know some of these, resources for artists that are just starting out or want to just like take that next step in upgrading their quality, but they don't have to like go super big, because I think it's kind of daunting for a lot of students that are just getting into this stuff, or a lot of artists that are live streaming online. So in the chat, Joe was asking if anyone's using SessionWire. SessionWire is the first live online music production environment. No, I'm not. Is anyone else using it? Curious. No. Joe, I would love to know your...
Sounds intriguing.
Oh, someone trying to say something? SessionWire. Anyway, yeah, it seems like it's interesting. We'll put that on our list to kind of to check out for next week. Does anyone else want to say something? Oh, actually, I mean, I actually have a technical question, but does anyone want to say something first that they didn't get to say? Okay. So I had a weird issue the other night. Well, actually yesterday when I was streaming, where I'm using Loopback to go into OBS from live. And for some reason in Loopback, the audio wasn't coming through. And I restarted my computer several times and I was running live and I was seeing the audio come out of live and just the audio in Loopback was not happening. And then all of a sudden it just turned on in Loopback and I didn't change anything. So I'm just curious, like, are you guys experiencing bugginess with Loopback at all? Like, what could that be? Because it was really disconcerting that it would happen, like, and not be working properly.
For me, Loopback has been working like really well. I actually have been using it for a long time. I don't know, 6 months more, maybe a year. So haven't really had any problems. Perhaps it was something with OBS. I don't know.
But it was definitely in Loopback. I wasn't seeing the signal come in through live. I just want to share my screen real quick to show you guys what I have, just in case someone has a better kind of plan. Okay, so what I was using yesterday was just live and then going to the Apollo, and then I was just choosing this in as my audio input capture in OBS. So it's pretty simple. I mean, things get a little bit more complicated, like when I'm using my in-ears, for example. If I'm listening to Q1 and my Apollo, I can't hear the Zoom output, so I'm routing the Zoom output into my in-ears, which kind of works well sometimes, but then other times I'm experiencing some latency. So I'm just curious, like, does anyone have an Apollo, first of all, and are you using Loopback for this purpose to get the audio into your headphones or in-ears, or are you using a virtual device? And if so, yeah, how are you doing that? Does anyone know? No.
Silence.
Oh man, does anyone use an Apollo here to stream? No. Okay. Wrong group to ask. Maybe last week. Yeah, I don't know why, but it wasn't working right, or sometimes I'll experience like that little bit of latency. So when you guys are streaming into OBS, are you using loopback? You are, right? What are your personal setups? Like, you're using kind of a similar thing to me, just going from Ableton to your sound card output and then choosing that preset in OBS? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Well, that's what I've been doing too. But I've also been using, like, aside from loopback, I also have a different setup where I'm using just like very simply two audio interfaces. Then the output of one audio interface is going into the input of the other audio interface, and then that is the main. So it's almost like using one audio interface as a mixer. But if I don't do that, then I'm using like loopback as well.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I know I have it set up properly just because it's worked before, but occasionally, like I said, it'll just be latent. I'll hear this latency, or yesterday it just wasn't working at all. And then all of a sudden, like, I literally moved in my chair. I moved and it turned on. It was so weird. And I had a friend that I was online with, and they were like, "Whoa, that was so weird. What did you do?" And I'm like, "I literally just moved." It was bizarre. But yeah, so that was my main issue right now. With my setup. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't help you. I
That's,
have one question.
yeah.
Is anyone using Ecamm for
No, but
streaming?
I actually want to this week.
Yeah.
I had started a thread in the Facebook group about it, and Will said that he was also trying it out. It looks slick, right? It looks like it
Yeah.
looks nice. Can you do
I'm
picture in picture? Because what I'm actually looking for is like to do a Zoom-like thing with two people, but not Zoom, without the watermark and all the things, and have like overlays, text overlays, and have it look nicer. Is that? Can you do?
Yeah, I just started using it, and the whole experience seems so much better than OBS. Like, seems so much like
Yeah.
professional and ready to be used. Of course, it's a professional tool.
Yeah.
It's trying to be, and yeah, and also I choose to use it because I'm using DSLR and Canon M50,
Ah.
and it does the virtual cam. So I just plug it in through the USB. Like, I don't have a capture card. I want to get one, but I can't get one
Oh.
right now.
Wow.
So it's just the USB cable directly into the computer. And last time we talked about it, and Ruben said I could be getting like drops in the frames. And so I did a bunch of testing with different resolutions and stuff, but I can get like full HD and 24 frames per second with no drops on the USB 2.0. So I just had a camera, plug it in the USB, and use the cam, and it's been working. It's been working nice. But now I'm gonna get into like overlays and PIP and that stuff.
Yeah, that's my
And
next move too.
yeah, and I'm thinking about dropping an email to them. Maybe they can offer a coupon for the CTs and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I'm looking at the payment. So it's $20 a month for the pro version, which has the virtual webcam and.
Yeah, but it's for annual. If you go month, it's $25.
Ah, okay. I see. I see. I mean, I think definitely it seems like it's in between OBS and Wirecast, right? Because Wirecast is like
Too
$5.99.
expensive. Yeah, it's
No,
crazy. Yeah.
I know. I did a session with Ruben the other week, and he was like, "Download the trial of Wirecast." I'm like, "But I'm not gonna buy Wirecast." He's like, "No, you need Wirecast." Like, he was really like, "You need nothing else other than Wirecast." And I was like, I don't know. It is slick though. It's really slick. But I think,
You tried it.
yeah, I tried it. I mean, I had the trial for like 2 weeks or something, but now I think I'm gonna
And
try.
does it have a watermark? Does it put a watermark on screen?
You can remove it when you purchase it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. As are all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. So with Ecamm, does it have built-in multiple streaming, like Restream? Like, could you get rid of Restream and just stream through Ecamm?
No, it has the option for Facebook, Periscope, custom stream. So you still have to use custom stream and fit it into Restream and.
Right. Yeah. I just saw someone streaming on Facebook the other day and it looked so nice. It was like his name and his, handle and all this stuff. And I was like, what are you using? And he said Ecamm. And I was like, wow, this looks really nice.
Yeah, it's like a TV show. It's like
a TV show. Yeah.
It's cool.
That's very cool. And you can have picture-in-picture, right? Like two people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
One thing, that's what I'm trying to do. Like you done in the Instagram streaming you did. I want to do that. Like 2 different people, one on top of the other, or add some video. Like I want to show an artist's video clip. So just show like a few seconds of the clip, play a song, and go back to the chat. I'll be getting to that like a bit later.
You could do all that in OBS.
Sure, you can. Sure. You can, and it works. Yeah, for sure. But the whole experience with Ecamm just seems better to me. And I was like, should I buy it or not? But the virtual cam was what defined it to me. I tried the open source option, Camera Live and Cam Twist. It was too buggy. It was cutting all the time. The resolution wasn't right. So with Ecamm, I tried 4K streaming, and it was great. Like I have fiber connection, so I could stream 4K and actually see the feed really well. So that surprised me. Their servers are ready to push that amount of data through. So that was the second reason for me to subscribing. Anyone else have been experienced with OBS? And
for some reason, like Zoom just crashed on me, and it loaded back up, and you guys were still talking. I don't know what happened. So anyway, hi.
So I was talking about what made me choose Ecamm. So the first reason is the virtual cam, so I can use my Canon, and it's supposed to work with any Canon DSLR, any professional one. And the other reason is because I was able to stream 4K with not a problem. And I couldn't do that with Cam Twist, I couldn't do that with OBS or any other tools I tried. And I got a really smooth 4K streaming.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have the Cam Link. So, but I'm using that to stream to a second laptop now. So knowing that I can use Ecamm directly in, that is going to be a game changer for me. Yeah. Well, it's 1 o'clock.
25 a month. Just a question. Was it? You said 25 a month.
$25 a month. Yeah.
Pedro, you gonna talk with him so that we?
I will.
That's a deal.
Yeah. You listen to other movers. I'll talk to Ecamm.
That's the way to do it, Pedro. Now you're learning.
All
right. Joe was asking anyone using multiple iPhones as cams with OBS. I'm not personally, but I think earlier we were talking about this. Some of you guys are using Epic Cam or.
I'm using an iPad and an iPhone, but not 2 of the same iPhone. So I'm using one iPad and one iPhone in OBS at the same.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay, well, we've been on here for a while, so I think we should, wrap it up now. Yeah, does anyone want to say any parting words or anything about something that you're offering the world that you want to share, or anything at all?
I'm hosting an online version of the Chicago Ableton user group meeting this Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. It's going to be a Zoom session like this, and
nice. Isn't the New York one also, Claire?
Yes, yeah. We may have to run over. So
The
like
same
everyone
time.
first, and then we'll all run over to the.
What time is yours?
I did 7 p.m. ET, so it's like 1 hour ahead of me. So we'll just like,
So
and then maybe we'll all run over or something.
yeah, so they're not overlapping. That's good.
Totally.
So.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. I'm doing some master classes the coming weeks. I'm doing one on actually live streaming with high quality audio this week. On Wednesday, I'm doing a couple of live from homes, and I'm doing a performance on Future Sound on Saturday. So if people are interested in that stuff, definitely go to my website and check out all the events there. And I've got a couple of programs coming up as well. If you want to check out my Transmute online program for live performers, that's happening in May, and all the info is on my site about that. Anyone else want to share something?
Well, I am doing a stream tomorrow. It's gonna be a chat with another producer, like sharing experience and stuff. But it's gonna be in Portuguese, so I don't think. I mean, if you in English people, English speaking folks come up, of course will turn up in English or French or Spanish and other language we can handle. But yeah, I'm gonna share with you guys anyway.
Swedish, is that okay? No?
Uh,
Okay.
no.
Anyone else want to share something they're working on, offering? Don't be shy. Now's your chance. All right. I guess that's it then. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks everyone out there in the world that tuned in. Definitely post your questions if you have them. And we'll be here same time, same place next week. So
Awesome. Thank you, Laura, for hosting.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you, everyone, for being here. It's
Everybody.
always really inspiring to share with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Take care,
All
everyone.
right.
Bye.